We've got our computers down. We're going to have a brief chat about what's ahead in 2013. This is Fritz Klug with Kalamazoo Gazette and MLive.com. I'm here with Ron Reed, the newly elected supervisor of Kalamazoo Township.
That's correct.
Pete Strazis, Republican mayor of Portage.
Not a Republican mayor, just mayor.
Oh, that's right. My apologies.
It's tough to know the difference.
Yes, because, you know, your position is partisan.
It is.
Democrat.
Yes.
And then returning guest, right to my left, David Maturin, Republican chair of the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners from Brady Township. So first off, on Wednesday night, Governor Rick Snyder pitched a way to improve roads in Michigan by increasing user fees. We talked a little bit of this on the chat. Snyder said projects like this kind of need to move beyond politics, and it's an issue, the bad roads in our state haven't been addressed because of politics. No politician really wants to step in and do it. What are some issues, longstanding issues within your municipalities in the county and the township and the city that you really feel need to be addressed that are kind of akin to what Snyder called for, you know, tackling the tough issues?
Well, particularly, it has been a tough issue for the state government to address, and there has been the last gas tax was in 1997. The last diesel fuel tax increase was in 1984. So we're talking a generation of folks who have not experienced those increases in fuel taxes. There's substantial economic benefits for improvements that the community needs. Now we're fortunate, we got 131 widened to 3 lanes that was wrapped up 2 years ago. Great project, but that needs to be extended to I-69 and back to Benton Harbor, which already has 3 lanes. There's been an active push in the community to upgrade the interchange at US 131 and 131 BR, which is now a limited interchange, not a full interchange. That is something that actually local communities are supporting, and there's an RFP that's being opened today to have somebody take a look at a feasibility study for us. But these type of road improvements, not only, and we're not talking about just widening and constructing the roadways, but we're talking about intersection improvements, traffic signal improvements, safety improvements, and there are some economic development projects that will be financed. So it's been a tough go because of political issues. Nobody wants to raise taxes. The governor, of course, called it user fees, which is kind of a fun way. That's what is still a tax. A tax is a tax, and you call it what you want. And some people are afraid of that. They don't want to use that word. But it's overdue. It needs to be done.
And roads is probably a less controversial issue. I mean, any new tax is certainly controversial, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people take a look at taxation and try to figure out, if I am going to pay a tax, where does it go to? And some people think that government collects money and they put it in some big pot and they get to spend it, and sometimes people don't know where it goes to. Now, with roads, a little bit different. If, in fact, this governor is going to focus on a tax that's only going to roads, I think the citizens of the state of Michigan, or even local elected officials and those locally, if they know it's going to go to roads, they know it's going to go on something that they use. And right now, I do believe that most citizens, whether they're local or across the state of Michigan, the roads need help. And it's something we can see, we can touch, we know where the money's going to go, we know we're going to get a benefit from it. The big question is what's the source of the use tax, and there'll be some, hopefully, some positive dialogue on that.
Well, that's a big issue, you know, statewide, that legislators such as Sean McCann and Margaret O'Brien are going to have to deal with. What are some, you know, tough issues locally in Kalamazoo County that we have to deal with? We talk about intergovernmental cooperation. I think the 2 issues that come to mind are 911 dispatch and county transit. How is that going to play out this year?
Can I just segue just 20 seconds on what they said? You talked about the political aspect of a transportation tax. So, and it'll be interesting to see, because Snyder will need some Republicans, I believe, to get that passed. He will need some Democrats to get that passed. And will the Democrats give that to him, or will they try to use that against him in the gubernatorial election? So you're going to have some politics at play there with the Democrats having to decide, is this good public policy for the state of Michigan, or can we use this against Snyder in the election? Getting back to your current question, intergovernmental, I think the transit system is something that, again, we've been given a golden opportunity in Kalamazoo County. The only county in the state that has an opportunity to do this, to have a transit system under one administration, but two different villages depending upon the level of service provided. And but I know the county, we've been working at it. We got a white paper out there, 30 pages. We saw it the other night. I think you put it online, and it's a matter of getting a guarantee that there's going to be an asset transfer before we go any further. Drawing boundary lines, deciding who gets to put into the line haul system and pay a higher tax, and those that don't. So we're hoping that we can get some commitments, some guarantees, and move on.
It is certainly mass transit and central dispatch are front and center, and it's probably going to certainly come to a head, at least one if not both, in 2013. And that is the item that really seems to get the press and the discussion. But really, as your question, Fritz, is what is the biggest issue? And there's an issue bigger than all that. If you take a look at valuation of homes, you take a look at income coming in, and of course, every unit of government is seeing a decrease in valuation of homes, businesses, so income is less. So we're seeing these spikes going on in local units of government. We're seeing healthcare costs. There's another, elephant in the room out there is how does that impact cost of services for local units of government. So my issue right now is seeing these spikes and not having a consistent, sustainable funding model that matches the service of the community. And that's a bigger issue than just central dispatch. And so in a perfect world, it'd be nice to settle down to have fewer spikes. And secondly, have an honest conversation with citizens as to what are the real needs of services and matching those needs with the income that we have. And so getting rid of the spikes and matching up our citizens' needs with the money we have, I think, are the two bigger issues.
Oh, I agree with Uncle Pete here. So if he says something, that's it.
Well, and in these conversations, we've talked a lot about the city of Kalamazoo's faced, budget issues. I mean, not budget issues, revenue issues, and they've had, really retirement is one of the things. The county had their, really tough discussion, not last year, but the year before for the 2012 budget in terms of what's going to happen. But with all these conversations and all the decrease in revenue, for the most part, things really haven't drastically changed in the county for, your average citizen. Do you think it will need to take drastic changes for them to get involved, or how would you want to see folks to get involved? Because as of right now, I mean, we're talking about all these issues that face government, but they're, I think roads are still plowed, and
they are. But take a look at the present model. Is it sustainable in the short run, long run? It's not. So there's going to be some impacts on the horizon if there's no significant increase in income or a reinventing, to use the governor's phrase, a reinvented Michigan. On the horizon, the model's not sustainable. So there has to be some reinventing or changes. Granted, we're still plowing roads, we're still having the red fire trucks go out there and respond to people, the police cars are out there, maybe few of those in some jurisdictions. Short term, you're spot on. There is not a huge difference, but cast that out over several years, and it's scary.
It's reminiscent of the roads issue, is that we've not had this tax increase for roads for many, many years. And for us who are in the business, looking at something like transportation, in this case roads, we see the deterioration of the road surface, the crumbling bases, the poor intersections, the need for new traffic signals. We recognize that. The average person probably doesn't. Now, the same thing whether we're talking about police services or fire services or EMS or elections services by the clerks or appraisal work that's being done by our assessors, we're doing the best we can. But we can do a better job, but we don't have the funds to do a better job. So we're getting by, but it's not great.
And should government take a look at things short term or long term? And of course, short term, there's always short term fixes to everything. And so I think the tough decisions of making long-term views of things, long-term decisions, good long-term decisions are painful and not popular short-term.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, like the county, we've got a 5-year budget plan that we take a look at, and obviously it moves along, and every year we revisit that. But it's an attempt to at least try to match our income and expenses. But the whole thing is, do you look at the expense side or do you look at the income side? And I guess my emphasis would be more on the expense side, see what we can do to lower expenses with this relatively same service delivery rather than looking at revenue increases. I just don't think in this particular economy, or maybe any economy, that's kind of increase we're going to need is going to come from the people.
Last question. It's kind of a two-parter, rapid fire, about the governor's State of the State address. The favorite thing that you heard that got you really excited in terms of a new program or something that he said, and something that you wish you would have heard, an issue you wish you would have addressed. So,
what I liked was metrics, measures, results. He came out of that and fired all the metrics, the pie charts, the dashboards. And I think it's great. We have a business person looking at the business model aspect of it. Units of government do the same thing. He's got to force us to actually look at measurements and metrics. And to his credit, he has some positive things to report on those metrics.
And something you wish you would have heard?
More about local units of government. Obviously, a little biased. I wanted him to say, how can government, state government, partner more with the local units and do more with us? But obviously, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I guess, maybe two favorite things. One was the dashboard, and we all, if we were there, like I was, we got a copy of the governor's.
Get it in again,
You
Dave.
guys weren't.
You were there, eh?
Very enjoyable experience. But no, if you were there, you got a copy of the governor's dashboard and his report. And I think that's important that he's putting it out there, and every year he's going to take a look at, this is what I said we're going to do, this is what we've done. So I think that's important. I was, I guess, encouraged what he was talking about increased services for veterans. Apparently we are like dead last as far as services for veterans among states and territories. I said in the MAC Veterans Task Force, and there's a lot of issues that are coming up. I talked to Jason Allen, who's kind of shepherding veteran services for the governor. He's got some good ideas, so I was really encouraged to hear about that. I guess maybe something I didn't hear was more applause from the other side of the aisle, and I don't want to be partisan about it, but there were some, well, seriously, there were some issues when the governor talked about transportation and mental health and child services and things like that. They're just, it was pretty much dead silence, and I would like to see a little bit more of that. Maybe there's still a little bit of regret from what happened back in December, still hanging over the air in Lansing. But, I would expect, at least on a couple issues like that, that seemed to be nonpartisan or maybe more Democratic-centric, that there would have been a little bit more applause. But other than that, hopefully they'll all take a cue. And
I'll be quick. I like transportation. I like that discussion. I just need more details. But recognizing it's a broad stroke discussion, but yet this, and this, and okay, how are we going to accomplish that? So,
great. Well, Ryan Reed, Pete Strazis, Dave McTurnan, thanks so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Fritz.